Hello everyone, and here. North America is a linguistic treasure trove. From the frozen Arctic to the deserts of the Southwest, this continent is home to language families as distinct from one another as English is from Chinese. Today, we aren't just skimming the surface, we are going A to Z, diving deep into the status, the history, and the incredible unique features of 26 indigenous languages. Let's get started. A is for Arapaho, or Hinono-Atit. This language is primarily spoken on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. It belongs to the Algonquian family, making it a cousin to languages like Cree and Ojibwe. But you would never guess that just by listening. Over thousands of years, Arapaho underwent such radical sound shifts that it became almost unrecognizable from its relatives. It currently has about 1,000 fluent speakers, mostly elders, classifying it as endangered. A standout feature, it lacks the M sound in its traditional alphabets, a sound that is almost universal in human speech, giving the language a distinct flowing cadence. Now, let's hear how they count.
Jasi, Nis, Nasa, Yain, Yossen, Nitatach, Ni Satach, Na Satach, Hiltach, Betetach.
B is for Beothuk. This is the tragic story of the original inhabitants of Newfoundland in Canada. Today, the language is extinct, with 0 speakers remaining. The last known speaker, Shanodithit, passed away in 1829. Because it vanished so early, linguists are still debating what it was. Most classify it as an isolate, unrelated to anything else. Though some suspect a distant link to Algonquian, the Beothuk people's custom of covering themselves in red ochre is actually the historical origin of the term Red Indian, a phrase that echoed across the continent for centuries. Now, let's hear how they count.
Yasik, Adzech, Shandik, Dabsik, Ninezik, Bashedzik, Udzuk, Adazuk, Yothaduk, Shansi.
C is for Choctaw, or Chahtak. Spoken in Oklahoma and Mississippi, this is a heavyweight of the Muskogean family, with roughly 9,600 speakers. It's threatened, but the community is fighting hard with language schools and apps. You've likely heard of the Navajo Code Talkers, but the Choctaw were the pioneers. During World War I, Choctaw soldiers used their language to coordinate military movements in France. It was the first time a Native American language was used to baffle enemy intelligence, laying the groundwork for future code talkers. Now, let's hear how they count.
Achafa, Tuklo, Tochina, Oshta, Tathapi, Hannali, Untuklo, Untochina, Chakali, Pokoli.
D is for Delaware, or Lenape-Lixuacan. Originally from the Hudson Valley and New Jersey, the Lenape were pushed west to Oklahoma and Ontario. This Algonquian language is critically endangered. The southern Unami dialect is dormant, and the northern Munsee dialect has fewer than 5 fluent speakers. Despite this, the Lenape hold a prestigious title, the Grandfathers. In the diplomatic councils of the Algonquian tribes, the Lenape were acknowledged as the oldest political group, the root from which the other tribes branched off. Now, let's hear how they count.
Kweti, Nisha, Naha, Newa, Palenacht, Kwetash, Nishash, Hash, Peshkunk, Pelen.
E is for Iyok. This language from the Copper River Delta in Alaska is a key piece of the linguistic puzzle. It is part of the Nadine family, but sits on its own branch. Sadly, Iyok is dormant. The last native speaker, Chief Mary Smith Jones, died in 2008. Her passing was significant because Iyok is the closest sister language to the massive Athabaskan family. Without Iyok, we would have a much harder time understanding the history of languages like Navajo and Apache. Now, let's hear how they count.
Tsiki, lati, tuska, klaka, choi, tsin, lati tsin, kati tsin, kutsta, dakak.
F is for fox, or meshkwahkihaki. Spoken in the Tama settlement in Iowa, this is an Algic language with about 200 to 300 speakers. It is considered endangered. The name Fox was actually a French mistake, confusing a clan name for the whole tribe. They call themselves Meskwaki, meaning people of the Red Earth. Uniquely, they have their own writing system, the Great Lakes syllabics, which looks nothing like the English alphabet and helps preserve the distinct rhythm of their speech. Now, let's hear how they count.
Nekot, Nesw, Nethwe, Nyew, Nyananwe, Nekotwasik, Nohik, Neswasik, Sag, Betarthwe.
G is for Quichin, or Tenjiju Kinjik. This Nadini language straddles the border between Alaska and Canada. It has roughly 500 to 1,000 speakers and is listed as endangered. The Quichin people are the Caribou people, and their language reflects that deep ecological bond, with hyper-specific terms for the anatomy and behavior of the porcupine caribou herd. Linguistically, it's famous for its complex nasal vowels and retroflex sounds, which can be incredibly difficult for English speakers to master. Now, let's hear how they count.
Jisak, Nekway, Tik, Do, Jiskonli, Niki Tik, Jets a hit in Nekway, Niki Do, Van Choch a Slavjak retin, Jiswa 10.
H is for Hopi, or Hopi Lawai. Spoken on the high mesas of Arizona, this Uto-Aztecan language is still spoken by over 5,000 people. While threatened, it is used daily in many homes. Hopi became a celebrity in the world of science due to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Early linguists claimed Hopi speakers perceive time differently because their grammar doesn't use standard past, present, or future tenses like English. While we know now they do understand time, their grammar prioritizes validity, focusing on whether a statement is a fact, a memory, or an expectation. Now, let's hear how they count.
Sukya, Luye, Bayo, Naluye, Chibot, Nabai, Zangat, Nanal, Bept, Bukt.
I is for Inuktitut. This is one of the principal languages of the Eskimo Aleut family, spoken across the Canadian Arctic. With 41,000 speakers, it is vulnerable but remains one of the strongest indigenous languages in North America. Inuktitut is famous for polysynthesis. Instead of a sentence with 6 words, they might use one word with 6 parts. For example, the single word "Tu sa tiaun nangit tualuyong" translates to "I cannot hear very well." It's an incredibly efficient way to pack information into speech. Now, let's hear how they count.
Atausak, Makhok, Pingasut, Tisamat, Talimat, Pingasuyuktut, Tisamauyungigaktut, Tisamauyuktut, Holeungigaktut, Kolet.
J is for Jicarilla Apache, or Apache Miza. Spoken in northern New Mexico, this is a Nadini language with about 300 fluent speakers. It is endangered. While it's related to Navajo, the Jicarilla language tells a story of cultural mixing. Because the Jicarilla people lived near and traded with the Pueblo civilizations, their language absorbed Pueblo words for agriculture and religion. It's a perfect example of how neighbors influence how we speak. Now, let's hear how they count.
Tatlae, Naki, Kai, Dei, Ashle, Goskan, Gostiti, Sapi, Nost Ai, Konesnan.
K is for Kootenai or Ktunaxa. This is a true mystery. Spoken in the Kootenai region of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana, it is a language isolate. It has no known relatives anywhere on Earth. With only about 200 speakers, it is severely endangered. Linguists are fascinated by it because it is surrounded by Salish and Blackfoot speakers, yet it borrowed almost nothing from them, maintaining its unique grammar and vocabulary in isolation for millennia. Now, let's hear how they count.
Uki, As, Galsa, Hatsa, Yiku, Inmissa, Wistala, Wuhatsa, Kaik Itwu, Itwu.
L is for Lakota or Lakhotiape, the iconic language of the Siouan family, spoken in the Dakotas. It has about 2,000 speakers and is the focus of a massive revitalization effort to reverse its endangered status. One of the coolest features of Lakota is gendered speech. The words you use to end a sentence depend on whether you identify as male or female. A man might say yalo to assert a fact, while a woman might say kshto. If you mix them up, it sounds jarring to a native speaker, like you're putting on a voice. Now, let's hear how they count.
Wancha, Nupa, Yamani, Topa, Zapta, Shakpe, Shakowi, Shagloha, Meapchuaka, Wikstermana.
M is for Mohawk or Ganyokgeha, an Iroquoian language from New York and Canada. It is threatened, with around 3,800 speakers. But the community at places like Gahwanage is very active. Traditional Mohawk has no labial sounds. That means no P, D, M, or F. Those sounds are made by closing your lips, and Mohawk simply doesn't use them. A Mohawk speaker wouldn't naturally say mama or papa without borrowing the terms from French or English. Now, let's hear how they count.
Aska, Tigani, Asa, Gayeri, Whisk, Yayak, Jada, Satego, Diohto, Oyeri.
N is for Navajo or Tine Bizat. This is the giant of the list. Belonging to the Nadine family, it has over 170,000 speakers in the U.S. Southwest. However, even with those numbers, it is vulnerable as fewer children are learning it as a first language. Navajo is a tonal language. The pitch of your voice changes the meaning of the word. This complexity, combined with its descriptive grammar, allowed the Navajo code talkers to create the only unbreakable code in modern military history during World War II. Now, let's hear how they count.
Tsasae, nake, tsa, ti, ashla, hasta, sosted, tsebi, nahaste, nezna.
O is for Ojibwe or Anishinaabemowin. Spoken in the Great Lakes region, this Algic language has about 50,000 speakers. It is threatened, but widely spoken across a huge geographic area. English grammar cares about gender, he versus she. In Ojibwe grammar, cares about life. Nouns are animate or inanimate. People and animals are animate, of course, but so are trees, spirits, and even certain sacred stones and pipes. The entire grammar changes based on whether the object is considered spiritually alive. Now, let's hear how they count.
Pejik, Nish, Niswe, Niwen, Nanan, Ningutoswe, Nijwaswe, Nishwaswe, Shankswe, Mitaswe.
P is for Pawnee or Paripakuru. Spoken in Oklahoma, this Caddoan language is critically endangered. Today, There are fewer than 10 fluent elders, though young adults are learning it as a second language. The Pawnee were renowned astronomers, and their language is a vault of celestial knowledge. They possess a highly technical vocabulary for the movement of stars and planets that rivals ancient Greece or Rome, reflecting a culture that organized its central life around the sky. Now, let's hear how they count.
Asku, Bitku, Dowit, Skitix, Sihuks, Skiksopits, Bitku Sixopits, Dowixopits, Duhuk City Water, Duhuk City.
Q is for Kutsan, or Kutsan Iya. This human Kochimi language is spoken by the Fort Yuma Kutsan tribe on the Arizona-California border. It is endangered, with about 150 speakers remaining. Kutsan is known as a river human language. Its grammar is fascinating because the verb does all the heavy lifting. Often, you don't need a separate word for I or you. The subject is built right into the verb's prefix, making for very punchy, action-oriented sentences. Now, let's hear how they count.
Ashant, Hawik, Hamuk, Chumpap, Zarap, Homhok, Bachke, Siphok, Hamhamuk, Shehuk.
R is for Rumsen Ohlone. Historically spoken around Monterey Bay in California, this Utes language has 0 native speakers today. However, extinct isn't the right word anymore. It is reawakening. The last fluent speaker died in 1939, but current tribal members are using 200-year-old linguistic records from Spanish missionaries to reconstruct the language. They are writing new songs and teaching their children, bringing a dead language back to life. Now, let's hear how they count.
Mkhala, Utis, Kapes, Utitim, Khalais, Khalishaken, Uchmayshaken, Kapkhamayshaken, Pak, Tansart.
S is for Shuswap, or Shahwapamkhchin. This Silesian language covers a massive area of the British Columbia interior. With about 1,200 speakers, it is endangered. Shuswap uses something called lexical suffixes, which is like linguistic Lego. If you want to talk about your hand, you don't always use a separate word. You might attach a suffix meaning hand to a verb like wash or caught, creating a single specific action word for that body part. Now, let's hear how they count.
Nuku, Sasala, Kushas, Moose, Chilkst, Tukmakst, Chuchska, Nukups, Timshankuka, Upikst.
T is for Tlingit, or Tlingit, spoken in the rainforests of Southeast Alaska. This Nadini language is critically endangered, with roughly 200 speakers, mostly elders. Tlingit is famous for being incredibly difficult for outsiders to pronounce. It relies heavily on adjectives, sounds made by popping air out of the throat, and deeply, gravely X sounds. It is the language of the Raven and Eagle clans, and the sound of the language matches the rugged intensity of the landscape. Now, let's hear how they count.
Keg, Der, Natsk, Dagon, Kejin, Kedusho, Tahadusho, Natskadusho, Gushok, Jinkat.
U is for Ute, or Nu Apagap. This Uto-Aztecan language is the namesake for the state of Utah. It is endangered, with fewer than 1,000 fluent speakers in Colorado and Utah. If you listen to Ute, you might think the speaker is running out of breath at the end of every word. That's because Ute features devoiced vowels. The last vowel of a word is often whispered, giving the language a very soft, breathy, and distinct musical quality. Now, let's hear how they count.
Suis, Waiani, Bayani, Bachuani, Manugani, Navani, Navegavani, Watchjoini, Suwada Gurp Suwini, the Gurp Suwini.
V is for Ventureño, or Mitskanakan. Once spoken along the coast of Ventura in California, this Chumashan language is dormant, with 0 native speakers. The Chumash were the master mariners of California. Their language is filled with highly technical engineering terms for building the tomol, a soon-plank canoe that could cross the open ocean. Like Rumsen, descendants are currently working to wake this language up from the archives. Now, let's hear how they count.
Paket, Ishkom, Masach, Skumu, Yati Pakes, Yati Ishkom, Yati Masach, Malawa, Spa, Kashkom.
W is for Wiyot, or Sulatluk. Spoken near Humboldt Bay in California, this algic language is currently reawakening. The last native speaker died in 1962, but new learners are bringing it back. Wiyot is a celebrity in historical linguistics. In the early 1900s, it was proven to be related to the Algonquian languages. This was a shock because Algonquian tribes live thousands of miles away on the East Coast. This link proved that the ancestors of tribes like the Cree and Ojibwe actually migrated from the west to the east. Now, let's hear how they count.
Gutsar, Ritar, Rikar, Riaul, Wesag, Dakshaluk, Halo, Hewitaw, Washaruk, Raluk.
X is for Khatkil or Haida. This isolate is spoken on the islands of Haida Gwaii and Prince of Wales Islands. It is critically endangered, with fewer than 60 fluent speakers. Haida grammar demands honesty. You can't just say, the wind is blowing. You have to use a suffix that tells the listener how you know. Did you feel it? Did you hear it? Or did you just see the trees moving? This is called evidentiality, and it builds a layer of trust directly into the sentence structure. Now, let's hear how they count.
Swansung, Stung, Honish, Stansung, Clash, Claunch, Jaguar, Stansanga, Clash, Swansungu, Clash.
Y is for Yupik, or Yuhtun. Spoken in western Alaska, this is a member of the Eskimo aleut family. It's actually the second most spoken indigenous language in the US after Navajo, with 10,000 speakers, though it remains vulnerable. Like Inuktitut, Yupik is polysynthetic. It allows speakers to fuse nouns, verbs, and endings into massive words. A single word can express he had not yet said again that he was going to hunt reindeer. It's a language of incredible precision and economy. Now, let's hear how they count.
Atautik, Malhuk, Pingayun, Chtaman, Tasliman, Achvinulgun, Malgunulgun, Pingayunulgun, Kulungunritar, Kula.
Z is for Zuni, or Shiwitma. Finally, we have Zuni, spoken at Zuni Pueblo in New Mexico. It is a language isolate with 9,600 speakers, making it vulnerable but remarkably stable. For 7,000 years, the Zuni people have lived in the same place. Despite being surrounded by Navajo, Hopi, and Spanish speakers, their language has refused to change or borrow. It remains distinct and unrelated to any other language, acting as a vault for their unique religious and cultural history. Now, let's hear how they count.
Topinde, Quili, Hai, Awite, Apte, Topalekya, Quililekya, Hailekya, Tenelekya, Astempla.
From Arapaho to Zuni, these languages are more than just words. They are entire libraries of human knowledge, history, and philosophy. While the statistics for many of them are alarming, the resilience of these communities is even stronger. Which of these unique language features blew your mind? Was it the whispered use of vowels or the honest Haida grammar? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's cultures, and I'll see you in the next one.